Marco, nice seeing you.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. I can hear you.
Fantastic.
I already started the presentation, so we are online. Today is a great day to have a webinar on business immigration and business plans, because these two things are very close and cannot be separated for any type of visa that we're filing. That's why we are going to discuss these topics with Marco, and we're gonna introduce. We're gonna talk more about who we are for those who don't know us. I know that the presentation to register for webinar had some information, but of course we want to elaborate on that, so people who are watching us online know that they are talking with people who specialize in these topics. So let's begin. I see that we have quite a lot of people watching us on Livestorm and other platforms. Guys, whoever watching us online, please comment the plus sign, so we could know that you hear and see us and the presentation. So if you get all three, if you can see us, if you can see the presentation, and if you can hear us, please drop the plus sign. That would mean that we are ready to go and there's no technical issues. Or you can say yes, just like Josh, I can hear you both, joining from my Mac. So good. Hello, Ambika Rama. You guys gonna have a lot of fun today because we have quite a lot of expertise for the issues that we're gonna be discussing. So okay, I see that people can hear us and see us, so we don't have to force anyone to comment the symbols. Okay, all good, Jose. Very nice. Guys, make sure that you are asking questions, because Marco is a busy man. I am busy man, and we are ready to devote you an hour, maybe a little bit more, and we want to bring you a lot of value. Okay, value is the most important for us. So the way we bring the value is you guys ask the questions, because we're gonna talk, we have a lot of things to discuss, but without your questions it's not going to be full. All right, so make sure you drop the questions and you ask about anything that we talk about or something that we did not talk about. So don't be shy, there is no stupid or silly questions. So today we're going to be discussing the following things. We are going to be discussing not in detail, but with some basic understanding, what are E2, L1, EB5, and also EB1C visas. What they are, what are the basic stuff that we need to know. Also, we're going to be touching on how to buy, how to open up your own business, and how to buy an existing business, and how we're going to use business plans for both, for the existing business or for the startup business. So, of course, how to build a strong business plan, and that's where Marco's expertise is going to go and play. Guys, let me tell you, Marco has been in this business for years and years to pass. So Marco has a very extensive experience in all kind of business plans connected to business immigration and connected just to regular business. So make sure you tune up and take everything seriously what Marco get to say about the business plans in the future. Also, we're gonna talk, maybe touch a little bit on the talent visas and the national interest, if we have time and if we can see that you guys have interest in that. And of course, we're gonna be touching on the real life examples of successful visa applications. So you will know the theory and you will know the application of the theory. So that's why it's gonna be very good. So, how to make the most out of this webinar? Guys, if you don't focus and if you don't make notes, and trust me, I'm doing these webinars on a monthly basis. Sometimes I do 2-3 webinars a month, and I know for sure that if you don't focus and you don't do the notes, maybe only 10% will stay with you. Otherwise, it's gonna go away. So make sure that you're focused. Try to have one device just for the webinar. Make sure that maybe you're in a room where nobody's gonna bother you. And I get to say that all the time. If you don't have the room where you can be focused, like without the kids, without some other people, go to your bathroom, okay? I know it from experience, people go to the bathrooms and that's where the peace comes on you. So, and of course, take notes. Also, at the end, guys, you will learn. First of all, you get two gifts. Two gifts from me, one gift from Marco. The gifts from me, you will get to know how to get a free evaluation of your case, meaning that I will send you the links that if you fill out the forms, I will be able for free let you know if you're good for the visa or not. All right, so stay till the end. And also you will be able to get a guide on how to open a company. It says in Miami, but basically anywhere in Florida. All right, so it's a very good guide and you guys will be able to do it step by yourself, because otherwise, let's say in my company, it may cost up to $3,000 to register a company, including the corporate work. You'll be able to do it for free if you get the guide. And also the gift from Marco is $100 discount for the business plans, and Marco will let you know how to get that. So again, to know how to do this, stay till the end. All right, so don't forget, write the comments, write the questions. We're going to be tracking the questions and see what bothers you, what interests you, what's not clear to you. Because remember, guys, we are here for you. Okay, we know all the stuff. We don't need this. You need this. So make sure you get the most out of this through your questions. All right, very, very important. So let's switch smoothly to the part where I will tell briefly who I am and Marco will introduce himself. So let's start with myself. My name is Stanislav Shamayev. Probably you guys know me through YouTube, through Instagram, through my webinars on YouTube, on Livestorm. I'm a business immigration and corporate attorney, a licensed business immigration attorney here in Miami. My office in Aventura. This is a northern part of Miami. I specialize in business, investor, and talent visas. So basically, I help people with talents, with business ideas, with capital to come here to the States and get their immigration papers. There could be non-immigrant visas, there could be immigrant visas, depending on the case. And we have more than 2,000 approvals throughout all kind of visas, and we have clients from more than 50 countries worldwide. And in my company, I have more than 100 people working in 10 different departments. All right. So I also have a license to practice civil and corporate law in Florida and immigration law in all 50 states in the United States of America. So let's say you want to come to California, no problem. We will be able to help, although we are in Florida. And also, Marco, please introduce yourself, a few words about you, who you are, and your experience.
Fantastic, thank you. And thank you for the invitation. I apologize for my voice today. It's a little bit rough, but hopefully I will be able to communicate clearly. So, my background, I think that in the context of the topics we're going to be discussing today, what I would like to highlight is that I have been an entrepreneur and business owner for more than 35 years. So I have hands-on experience launching businesses from zero, from an idea, growing and scaling them, selling them. And that allows me and my team to quickly and easily connect with clients, because we're more than just a company that writes business plans. First and foremost, we understand business. And that's where my educational background lies. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration that I got here in the United States. Got my MBA in Italy, and then I also did postgraduate work in finance in the United States. I'm also a certified business coach from the University of Miami, and I do practice business coaching. So and this is super important, I understand both the world of business and the world of immigration. As Stanislav indicated, we have many years of experience, to be more exact, 14 years, where we have helped thousands of business owners and entrepreneurs with business plans that help them get their visas, because that's the only thing that counts. We also do other types of business plans, and last but not least, we also help clients when they, for example, say, "Oh, I want to get an E2 visa. I have $100,000. Stanislav, can you please find me a business?" We can help with that. We have been doing that for years as well. So we're here to, again, take care of the most important thing, which is helping you get your visa approved.
Very good. So it's a one-stop shop basically for businessmen all across the world, and we've been working with Marco extensively last year for about a year, building our processes, how we can fastly and effectively help our clients to achieve the goals. And the goal is approval. That's all we work for. So Marco's team and my team are both working on this one topic. So thank you, Marco, for introduction. So let's start. There's no time to waste. We have a lot of material, and of course, guys, make sure that you write the questions, because, like I said, I'm gonna say it more because that's how we gonna be bringing you lots of value. Your questions are very, very important. So let's start with E2 visa. It's a relatively low investment program visa, which allows the business people from all over the world to come to the States and either start their own businesses or purchase an existing business. Again, maybe 100,000 is not adequate enough to purchase a business, but it's always good enough to start a business. And of course, it's 100K plus. So you guys probably know, because you watch my videos, that not everybody can get E2 visa just because there is no good passport. Not all countries signed the trade treaty with the United States of America. However, the list is quite extensive with more than 30 countries. And I would assume that a bunch of you fall within this category of the countries that can file for E2 visa. So let's, in short, talk about the criteria, okay? Criteria is the most important thing to get the result, the approval for any type of visa. So what we are looking at when we are talking about E2 visa requirements. And we have a bunch of them, some of them more important, some of them less, but we need to satisfy all these criteria. Number one, just like I said, the citizenship and nationality of your passport, of yourself. Pretty much all Western Europe, quite a few countries in Asia, quite a few countries in South America, and even in the Central America fall within this category. So you can always check the full list of the E2 countries on a United States government website, the DOJ. Just put E2 visa countries and you'll have the first link. Click on it and see if your country satisfy this criteria. Number two, the investment of $100,000 plus. And I know that some of you is gonna say, "Hey Stanislav, you yourself telling us on YouTube, and we know some other people who got approval for less than $100,000. Why are you saying 100K plus?" Well, it's true. We got approvals for as low as $60,000 investment. I personally never went below 60,000. I know some of my colleagues got approvals for 50,000, maybe for $40,000. I don't know about that. I'm talking only from my experience. I prefer 100K, especially if your country is not a part of the Western world. And I don't want to sound like discriminatory or something like that. No, it's not about that. We just know that by experience that United States government is more loyal and lenient towards the countries from Western hemisphere, right? So if you're coming from the country that's not a part of that, politically or for whatever reason, there's more attention to those petitions. Okay, and in this case, we want to make sure that your investment goes beyond 100K. Let's say if you're from Pakistan, if you're from South America, Central America, from ex-Soviet republics like Moldova, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. So it's preferable that you put more money, because then your petition has more chances to get approved. So also, of course, most important is even more important than the amount of investment is the proof of funds. Okay, we can make the whole webinar just on this point, but today is not the topic to discuss on the proof of funds, but we have to mention it. So basically, you and us, we need to show that the money that you're investing in your startup business or purchasing the assets or the company of another business, we have to show that that money has been made legally. What it basically means? That basically means that we need to show the original funds, which is usually your salary, your dividends, your inheritance, or your loans, which have no collateral. So those are the most important methods to show the proof of funds. And if your money were traveling from that source of funds through purchasing the real estate, assets, Bitcoin, stocks, gold, whatever that is, we need to show how that money were, when those assets were purchased and when they were sold. And you pay the taxes on all the transactions. Okay? So the original funds, how the money moved, and that you paid taxes throughout this whole story. Okay, so that's what means the proof of funds. And again, same way, if you're from Western country, like from Germany, from England, whatever, from Canada, US government is looking at the proof of funds like this. So basically not looking, okay? And it's much easier to prove. If you're coming from other countries, like like I said, ex-Soviet republics, we need to show everything to the penny, okay? So again, I don't want to sound like, this is like discriminatory treatment. No, we don't know, but that's what we see. So, and that's what's going on. All right, we also need to show that you owe at least 50% of the business where you invest, okay? And anything above 50 will also work. You can own yourself or you can own through the entity, no problem. So this is very important, and very important not to lose this ownership, because then we have to extend your visa in the future, and it should be the same. Also, you need to be the one to direct and control the business. All right? Don't make the mistakes of some people in the past who got E2 visa and never paid themselves a salary. I just get the dividends, Stanislav, no problem. There is a problem, okay? Because you have to be the owner and employee. As employee, you have to direct and control. As the owner, you have to get you may get the dividends if you're a successful employee in your own business. All right? So that's very important. And also, we need to create economical impact. All right? What it means? That means that we need to bring good to the US economy. How to do that? Two things. Either we are very profitable, or we employ the American employees. Or maybe third, the hybrid between these two. We're profitable, and we make when we hire American employees. How many? Maybe 2-3 people is good enough to start and then grow. If we talk about the profit, probably 100K or more without employees would suffice. Okay, but there's no black and white. It's all very individual for each case. So this is in a nutshell the E2 visa. So before I pass the ball to Marco as to the business plans, let's see what questions we have. Okay, so Josh says, I'm moving to the US this year. Josh, I'm jealous, because the emotions and sensations of moving to the US, this is just amazing. So congratulations. Hopefully you get to move through us with our help. Edward, if I have less than 100K investment, do I have chances at applying for E2 visa? Edward, I think I already answered your questions. Definitely, it could be as low as 60, the more the better. But again, the law says that significant amount of investment as to the type of business. And I'm rephrasing it so it's clear, okay? So all businesses are different. So depending what business that is, we can see how much investment would be deemed significant. And also the moderator dropped the link to the list of treaty countries. You guys free to check it. Josh says, Точно, Stanislav. I think Josh is trying to write something in Russian. Точно means exactly. So yes, exactly, Josh. That's what I'm talking about. And let's see, Ajit is asking, I have a Portuguese and Spanish company. Okay, sounds good. I'm a Portuguese resident. Very good. Do we have any benefits to open company in the US? I have been holding B1, B2 visa for last 30 years and it keep renewing. What benefits I can get if I open company in the US? Ajit, and I hope I pronounced your name right. Just by opening a company in the US, there is no benefit. Okay? There's only benefit to you because you can make money. The only benefit you can get if you participate, if you apply for a certain visa. Let's say E2, we're going to talk about L1, we're going to talk about EB5 visa, maybe we'll touch about O1 and EB2 national interest waiver if we have time. That's when you can get a benefit. Which benefit you can get? Well, the minimum is live in the States and make money. All right? The maximum is to get the residency, the green card. All right? Depending on which program you participate. Josh, sure, I'm working with Marco's company. Yeah, you see, Marco, we have your clients with us also. So, Josh, let us know how the work goes. I'm sure Marco is doing a fantastic job, but let us know so we could have some feedback from the current clients. Okay, EB2C, NIW green card. Okay, very good. Would like to work with your firm too, Stanislav, as a backup. Josh, definitely, absolutely. We have extensive experience with EB2 national interest waiver, and we have very high rate of approval. More than 90% of our petitions get approved. So I would love to take a look at your case and make sure you first of all get the free evaluation. At the end, I will let you know how to do this. And everything is good, you know, we'll pick up your case and go with it. Sarim, Shamayev, you're doing an amazing job. Thank you, Sarim. Thank you for good words. Ajit, it doesn't fall for Indian citizens. Yes, Ajit, O1 or L1 is better for India. Okay, let's take last question before we move on. Sarim, just wanted to ask that if I already have a US foreign disregarded entity in Wyoming, okay, I guess it's an LLC or S Corp, in the IT segment, already doing business and paid 1 year taxes, not much though, but filed. How can that help in E2? Well, we need to know how much money you put into that company, Sarim. All right, so the fact that it's already been working and you pay taxes is a very good sign. So make sure you collect all the money, all the investment that or intellectual property or equipment or whatever you used your application, your open source, whatever you use to sell your services. Make sure you collect all that so we know how much money you put into that. All right, I think we already kind of touched on the benefits of E2 visa. So there is no limitation how many times you can extend E2 visa. You can extend staying in the US by 2 years increments, or you can just leave and come back on your visa. And depending on the country, your visa could be anywhere from 3 months to 5 years. And again, guys, very important, don't mix the status and the visa. Two separate things. Visa is to enter the country. The status is to actually be in the country, how long you can stay in the country. All right. So sometimes the length of your visa is not equal to the length of your status, and vice versa. So make sure you understand those concepts. And I have a separate video on YouTube where I explain the difference between them. So visa could be anywhere from 3 months up to 5 years, but regardless of how long your visa is good for, when you enter, you have 2-year status. Okay? So this is very important to understand. And of course, you can bring your family, your spouse. Your spouse get to work in the States, not necessarily in your company, anywhere. And your kids will be able to go to school, to public school in the States for free. So this is a very good visa for those of you who want to do commerce. Okay, Marco, let's switch to you. Now, how to build a strong business plan on E2 visa.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So let me define what a strong business plan is for an E2. It's a business plan that gets the job done, meaning gets the visa approved. And that's exactly what I want to talk about. And before I talk on the content, on the slide that you're seeing now, I want to take a step back, and I like always to provide context and education to our clients. And I like to go from 50,000 feet to 50 feet in height. Let me begin with 50,000 feet and what I mean by that. Look, in my view, the most important concept to keep in mind is how immigration officers, if you're doing a need to in the United States as a change of status, that's a technical thing that you need to discuss with Stanislav and his team, or if you're doing the EU through an US consulate or embassy overseas. Why is that important? Because remember, the officer who's going to review your EU petition, including the business plan, is the person who has the last word and the last decision. So it is really important to understand who these officers are, how they think, and how they work. In a nutshell, we like to assume that these officers, and you might be surprised to hear what I'm about to say, in our experience, most officers have no background in business. They are the people that when we went to high school and you ask your friends, what are you going to study? They answered anything that has no numbers. Okay? So let's assume that the officers have because it's true, no business background, most of them at least. No business background. They don't like numbers. They're not numbers people. That's super important. Okay. Number 2, they have a limited time frame to read your business plan and understand your business. But more important than that, this is something that I like to underline to all of our clients. How do officers review the business plan? They do so within the context of the E2 law. And remember, the E2 law was not written by business people. It was written and approved by politicians. And you know what happens when, most countries in the world, if not 100%, you know what happens when politicians get in business. I mean, that is not their forte. Anyway, why is this concept important? Because in the E2 law, which is something that you will discuss with Stanislav and his team, there's certain things that are key to the success of the E2 business plan. So in the business plan, we address those points. But again, before I get into the table of contents, in our view, the business plan has to check 3 boxes or meet 3 objectives. Number 1, it has to be easy to read. What is the threshold? If a 10-year-old cannot understand the business plan in 1 minute, we are in trouble. Why? Officers are not business people. They don't have time to review your plan extensively. We have to put ourselves in the shoes of these officers. We're trying to make a decision under pressure. So easy to read, easy to understand. Second, and this goes against something that many people think, you just put whatever numbers you think are fine. No. The business plan has to be credible. It has to be realistic. It has to make sense. You know why? Because officers know that, some people, a percentage of applicants are just trying to do whatever they can to get their visas approved, and they disregard the fact that the business plan has to make sense, has to be realistic, has to be credible. Credibility goes a long way in an E2 business plan. And last but not least, the third layer or point is the business plan has to check the boxes of what you're seeing in the slide here, an executive summary. That, by the way, the executive summary usually has 1 to 2 pages. That might be the only thing that an officer has time to read.
If
Right?
at all, if at all.
Exactly. We like to think your officer is going to read your plan Friday at 4:45 p.m. They want to go home. Do you think that they're going to make an effort? No. They want to get it done. Anyway, executive summary has to check on the main points of the E2 visa and of course explain the business. A detailed company description, again, easy to understand. One of the main reasons that we see, when we're contacted by clients, say, oh, I got my visa denied, I did my own business plan. Once we start reading it, I say, look, I understand it because my background is in business, but this is technical. I mean, it has to be easy to understand. A clear description of products and services, the investments, super important. We touch on that in the E2 business plan, and we basically break down how the $100,000 that Stanislav was talking about, how the money has been committed or spent before applying for the visa. If you have any questions, how much should I spend there? You reach out to Stanislav and his team. Projected profit and loss statement. One of the points that Stanislav highlighted is basically using my own words and language. The U.S. government wants to ensure that you as an E2 investor, you will not become a burden for the U.S. taxpayer. They want to make sure that you will have sufficient money to sustain you and the family members that you're bringing along, with your application. So that is super important. Many clients ask, what is the minimum? What is the magical number? Well, again, you have to consult with the immigration attorney. But anyway, I like to use an example. If you're coming by yourself and you're living in South Dakota in the middle of nowhere, maybe you can live with $2,000. If you have 20 kids and you live on Fifth Avenue on the penthouse, $100,000 would not be enough. So it really depends on each case. Competition review and marketing strategy, that is equally important, and again has to do with not only with the credibility of the plan, but the officers want to make sure, they want to see that the investor actually took the time and made the effort to at least paint a picture of where the company is headed and how the company will get to a certain point or hit some milestone thanks to its marketing strategy. Last but not least, equally important and has to do with one of the E2 requirements, that economic benefit that Stanislav was talking about, that is typically shown by presenting a plan to hire people over the next 5 years, right? And the number of people to be hired, again, has to be credible and realistic. It depends on the business, it depends on the nature of the investment and the client's growth plans, and yes, detailed job descriptions. So in a nutshell, this is it. Let me summarize it real quick. The 3 layers of the main points that we want to cover are the business plan has to be easy to read. A 10-year-old has to be able to understand it in 1 minute. That's it. At least the executive summary. Second, it has to be credible. It has to be realistic. To do that, we use industry benchmarks. We know what a realistic number looks like. And third, check the boxes of the E2 visa category. And the way we do that is to coordinate with the Stanislav as his team, because they are the attorneys, as I like to say, the medical doctors. We're like the very experienced nurse. We have seen many patients, but we're not medical doctors. Having said this, That's it. Let me know if you have any questions regarding the EB2 part.
Okay, good. Guys, drop the questions if you have any. Let me add something to what Marco had to say, but from the legal perspective as well. Something that actually Marco mentioned, but I did not, but I think is very important, and that's why I want to emphasize it, is that when we file for E2 visa, and you guys have to put it in your notes, because if you forget, you're not going to be happy, is that at the time of filing, you have to invest the at least 70% of your total investment in the company already. Okay, so it does not suffice that we have an LLC like Sarim said, like let's say we have an LLC in Wyoming and we put $80,000 of clean money on a checking account. We got a very good business plan from Marco and his team, and we filed this petition and all good, and office is going to say no, this is going to be denied because your business is not active or is not ready to become active immediately after issuance of the visa. Crucial moment. So that's what adds risk to the petition, but we have to remember that risk is one of the criteria of this visa. So it's kind of blows your mind if you start thinking. It's like a circular thinking, like, okay, I don't want to risk money, but if I don't risk money, I don't get an approval. Okay, so that's why I have to risk, but I may be denied. Okay, so it's kind of weird to think about it, but as I go through my experience and filing lots of these cases, I understand that that's the criterion that US government wants you satisfied definitely. Like they want to see that you put the money, your money is at risk, and that you committed to this business, okay? So very, very important, and of course, a business plan is gonna reflect that. It's gonna say where the money was spent, what we purchased, did we use the intellectual property as an investment? Because remember, it's not only about cash, which is most of the time we use, but also intangible property, the equipment, anything, software. It also could be an investment. So let's see, I saw quite a few questions. Let's address them. Ajit, so I'm fine to apply to invest and apply for L1. I can invest. My Portuguese company is yes, Ajit. It looks like you may apply for E2 visa, and you can possibly apply for L1. Of qualifying for L1 visa, there's a few obstacles there, so we'll get there. Josh. Sure, let's do this, Stanislav. After the meeting, I already have a US company worth 7 million USD. So excited to move forward. Josh, 7 million USD worth of the company excites me a lot. So let's have a conversation going. All right. So and guys, we get people watch our stream from different platforms. Livestorm, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. So only people from Livestorm can drop the comments and questions that I can see. But our moderators are on all platforms. So drop your questions there. We'll pick it up and drop in this chat. Okay, so that's what happened here. A question from the YouTube stream. If E2 visa is not for not treaty countries, so what are the options? Okay, let me rephrase this question. If I don't fall within the treaty countries, what are my options? So that's why, I don't know the name of whoever asked this question, but that's why we have other visas to talk about. We're going to talk about L1 visa. Ajit is going to be very interested in that, and the person who asked this question. We're going to talk about a larger investment visa, which is EB5, and we're going to touch on O1 and probably EB2 national interest waiver, where all countries fall to apply. So stay tuned. Mohammed, how to show invested? Well, invoices. bank statements show how you spent the money. If you transferred your money to the checking account of your business and you start spending, your bank statement is going to reflect that. Also, you're going to get the receipts and invoices from the vendors that you spent money for, and we can use them as well. All right, so Josh, show it in your checking or escrow account. So Josh kind of answers the questions that I just mentioned. Like an EB5, yes. Work order, Mohammed, yes, work order will work, basically. So anything proving that the money left the checking account and that you actually got something for it, okay? So that would work. There is no one particular way to do this. There's a bunch of them and most of them work. Okay, so let's take last question on E2 in this section. Later on, you guys can add more questions. Ariel, can you come in on E2 visa and then switch to a different visa after? Absolutely, absolutely, Ariel. We do it quite often, and because E2 is non-immigrant visa and it doesn't lead to the green card no matter how long you stay on this visa, that's why we're building the strategy to see how you can switch later on from E2 visa to other immigrant visa. And the most popular ways are EB1 a talent visa in business, EB2 national interest waiver, when your project grows to the extent that it solves some problem that's in the interest of the US government, or it could be a classic EB2 or EB3 visa if some other company in the US wants to hire you and sponsor you for the green card. And of course, if you grew like Josh did, right? His company is 7 million worth. He can probably consider EB5 program, okay? So depending on the circumstances, there is a way to switch. And again, we're not going to discuss like political asylum and family. That's not the topic, okay? There's other ways which are beyond the today's discussion. Okay, so let's switch to EB5. This is whereas E2 is a low investment program, and again, when we say low, it's a relative, right? 100K is a lot of money, but comparing to EB5, this is a low investment. Why? Well, because EB5 is investment of at least $800,000 if we go with the passive investment through the regional center, or if we establish the business in a high unemployment areas or outside of the city areas. And it could be up to $1,050,000 into your own business, regardless of the location. Also, very important to understand that we have to create 10 jobs within 2 years after the approval of EB5 active investment visa when we use our own business to participate in this program. And for the purpose of today's webinar, we're not going to discuss the regional centers and the passive investment, just because there is no component of the business in that for the purpose of our discussion, because regional centers, they take care of the business side of the business plan, and that's for those who want to just give loan their money for 5 to 7 years to some developers in the US, get a green card, do nothing, and just relax. Okay, we are more for commerce, for making money, to control our investment and our business, and that's where the business plans come into play. Okay, so that's why we're going to talk only about active investment for EB5 purpose. But you guys, you know, on my YouTube channel, you can watch all kind of videos about the passive investment. There are some fresh ones, so make sure you do that if that's something what interests you. And all ones, how the first capital was made, right? It's not about Marxists and Lenins who say that it doesn't matter how you made your first capital. It does matter here, okay, guys? So it does matter how you made your first capital. We have to have all your documents to show that and to prove the chain of events between the original funds and how they ended in your business in the US, okay? One critical distinction between EB5 active investment and E2. For EB5, and remember for E2 we said that you have to spend significant amount of your money for the business before we file. For EB5, it's a little bit different. Why? Because it suffices to put that money on a checking amount and make just enough spendings to show that you kind of serious about this, okay? Like renting an office, maybe buy a software, maybe computers, maybe start little things, but nothing crazy. We don't have to show like $500,000 already into the we may, but we don't have to, okay? So make sure you understand that. And also, of course, EB5 is a green card, guys. You, your spouse, and your children below 21 years old, not married, are all getting the green card. So the way it works, first we file the petition with the business plan and everything, all explanation of the proof of funds. Once it's approved, you have 2-year conditional green card, and at the end of this term, we have to refile another petition showing that you actually created 10 jobs, okay? So you have 2 years to put your money to work to create 10 jobs for Americans, full-time jobs, okay? So after the recent reform of this program, we got a nice benefit that now the US Congress allows you to adjust your status here in the US and wait in the US while your EB5 petition is pending. And because it could be pending for up to 4 years, and again, you know, Marco and myself, we're not trying to build you, you know, like rainbows and butterflies. We're more about the results. So we give you the true numbers and what happens in the reality. Yes, it could be up to 4 years, depending on your projects. But if you are in the States, you can get the work permit and advanced parole. And bingo. Advanced parole and a work permit is a green card light. Okay, gives you all options that the green card gives you. So this is really good for those of you who can come here without intention to adjust, but then things change and you just you think that you want to adjust your status here. All right, so now Marco, let's talk about we don't have this slide for EB5, but it's similar to E2. So let's talk about what good business plan means in terms of EB5 visa, and then we go to L1, EB1C, and other visas as well.
Fantastic. You know, I love using examples that anybody can understand. So let me explain the difference between an E2 and an EB5 business plan. So in those of you who have kids, you know, sons, daughters, or nephews, let's say that, okay, your son says, hey, dad or mom, can you give me $5? And you say, what do you need the money for? Oh, I want to buy ice cream. You don't ask too many questions, and then you give them the money, right? That is the E2, right? But if that same son says, your son is, I don't know, 10 years old, and your son says, hey, I need $100,000, please. You're going to ask a lot of questions before you give out the money, right? Like, what do you need the money for? That's the EB5. Why? The E2 is a non-immigrant visa. And Stanislav answered the question that someone asked before. Can I come under the E2 and then apply for another visa that can give me a green card? Yes, they will take care of that. But the EB5 gives you, if it's approved, a direct green card. So that translates into a reality, which is an EB5 business plan is very detailed. There is even in the law, in the EB5 law, something called the matter of how, which is kind of the framework that years ago the US government put together in writing to say, hey, wait a minute, these are the main points that an EB5 business plan should address in detail. So they really go into detail, checking every aspect of the business plan, the assumptions. If you're projecting, for example, $1 million of revenue, where did the numbers come from? We cannot just say, I'm going to sell $100 million in year one. Where did the numbers come from? They will be asking a lot of those questions, but the core of the EB5 business plan is showing the connection, the nexus between the investment, right, and how that investment will result, or maybe already resulted in the creation of 10 full-time, and I want to add permanent positions. This is super important because, for example, if you're in the real estate business, your company might be creating, yes, 10 full-time jobs, but they may not be permanent. So again, that's one of those technicalities that you have to discuss with Stanislav and his team. But going back to the business plan, that is the main thing that we focus on, showing the connection and how the investment resulted in the creation of the 10 full-time permanent position, and it has to be credible and realistic. It's not as simple as saying, okay, and I like to use this example. Let's say that you want to invest $1 million in one of those small kiosks in a mall. Well, that will not cost you $1 million, and that will not create most likely, the 10 full-time permanent positions. So it has to be credible. It has to be realistic, and we even have to compare your company's business and services to, for example, 5 main competitors and highlight what makes your company different and why we think that your company will succeed. And again, going back to the creation of 10 full-time permanent positions, when those positions will be created and why. Again, it's not as simple as saying just put whatever number you want, Marco. That's what some clients say. No, we cannot do that.
No, you have to explain. You have to explain.
Yes, yes, exactly. It has to be explained. And an EB5 business plans, remember, and petitions are subject to super high level of scrutiny, beginning with the investment. They really want to make sure that it's your money and that the money is clean, and you have to prove that it's your money. Okay.
Definitely.
And then, you take care of the rest, always in coordination with Stanislav and his team.
Yes, very good comments, Marco. Thank you very much. So, yes, the specific of the EB5 active investment business plans are the connection between the invested money and the forecast of investment in the future and creation of the 10 jobs. And yes, they're permanent jobs, and that's what needs to happen before we get approval for the second 10-year green card. All right, so let's see. There are some questions. Another question from YouTube stream from Anja. Please ask if there is a rule of 2 years of being resident of one country. And there's an example. Yes, actually, Anja, now it's not 2-year rule, it's a 3-year rule. And let me explain. Before 2023, before January 2023, everything was fine and people were free to purchase the passports of Turkey, of Grenada and other countries for certain investment, get those passports and get the E2 visa in those passports. And again, this also goes to the question, I can't remember the name, but if someone asks if I don't qualify for E2 treaty country, well, before this year, everything was good. You could just purchase an apartment in Istanbul in Turkey, spend $400,000, get the Turkey and before it was $250, get the Turkey passport, then invest $100K in business here in the US, get your E2 stamped on a Turkish passport, and you're good. For 5 years, you get the passport and you travel. Everything is, didn't know when it would happen because the first time was in May 2022 when this bill was discussed in US Congress, but it was too quick to pass. So nobody expected that, and things changed drastically. So now, starting January 2023, if you're purchasing, and this is very important, not if you get your passport through your parents or your place of birth or your roots, like Israeli passport, maybe you're Jewish or something like that. That's different. Only if you purchase your passport through the investment in that country, okay? That's when this rule applies. So the example of Turkey or Portugal, there is like golden visa, golden passport program, UK, Turkey, Grenada. Now you have to live 3 years before during or after you got the citizenship of that country. And realistically, like no one is gonna live in Grenada for 3 years, right? There's no crazy people. We're not crazy, right? There's nothing to do there. So in that effect, we have lost the opportunity to get E2 visas for those of you who purchased the passports through the investment in another country and never lived there. Okay? If you did, fine, no problem. So Anjam, I hope I answered your question. If you got your passport in UAE, and I can't remember if it's a part of treaty, but let's say I definitely know that Pakistan is part of the treaty. You got the Pakistani stamped in the passport through the consulate, but that's a different story. So I hope I explained that thoroughly. Ariel, can I use the Canadian business funds to open a business in the US for E2 visa? Okay, let's stop here. You can, as long as you paid the taxes on those funds. Okay, so in other words, you can use those funds as dividends, but we need to show that you paid your dues to the Canadian government in order to qualify it as your personal investment, because it cannot be a business investment from another company. Okay, so it's very important to understand. Or does the investment have to be made under the personal name of the business owner? Right, so it's either under your personal name, or it could be through the business if the money goes first to you and then to the US business, and we show that you pay taxes on this transaction. Okay, no problem here. Mohammed, if E2 creates 10 jobs, can I apply for EB5? Absolutely, if your investment went to the limit of EB5, which is $800,000, depending where your business is and the nature of your business. Because let's say agricultural businesses, they fall within the $800,000 amount. So if you started, let's say, a farmer business, okay, you started growing wheat, okay, and you put $300,000-$400,000, you growing wheat, you created the 10 jobs, you reinvested more money in the business to get to $800,000, bingo, we can go for EB5. All right, very good, good questions, guys. I'm impressed, guys. I'm impressed. Sometimes, and I say, you know, there is no silly questions. Sometimes there are, but we never show it. We're professionals. But today's the questions are high quality questions. All right, so let's go to EB1C, and again, it's L1/EB1C because the law is basically the same for both visas, but the extent of the evidence is a little bit different between this and that. So who EB1C and L1 visas are for? Okay, and let me see the so L1. We're going to talk about them at the same time. There are different slides, but it's all about the same. So, and guys, because we love you so much, we're gonna give you the best information. I don't want to be, I don't want to tire you with the law and criteria. Nobody wants that. We want to get to the core, to the core understanding what those visas are about. Okay, so just because you're here, you will learn a lot today. So prepare and take notes. L1 visa, and we'll start with L1 because most importantly, most often you come here on L1, you grow your business, and you file for EB1C. Sometimes we do EB1C right away when there is an existing business. We'll talk more about it, but usually L1, startup, growing startup, filing for EB1C, for the green card. So, in that scenario, how can you easily qualify yourself as the one who will probably fit within all the criteria? And there are two major things. Thing number one, you have business outside of the US where we have about 15 employees under your control. Okay? And same as E2 visa, for Western countries, this number of employees may drop a little bit lower, maybe to 10, maybe sometimes even 8, if you, let's say you're from Europe. But everything else, we want 15 people, okay, under your control, and this is very important, guys. Your business idea about future business in the US should encompass 5 employees at the end of year 1. Okay, got it? It's very important, guys. If your business idea does not encompass 5 employees in your L1 visa in the States at the end of year 1 of your development, L1 visa is not for you. And again, it's not black and white. Stanislav, I'm gonna have 4. Okay, we can probably work with this, okay? But if it goes down to 3, 2, 1, or no, I don't need employees, Stanislav. My business doesn't, L1 is not for you. Okay? Why? The question is why? Why we're talking about employees? It's business. Why not about investment? Well, L1 visa, and to that extent EB1C, are the visas of top managers or executives. Okay? Who are top managers and executives? Those are the people who control and direct other people. So if there are no other people in the company, we cannot prove that you're a top manager or an executive. And that's the formula that USCIS use. And I'm pretty sure that Marcos saw that in RFEs and requests for evidence. Show us how the company can afford and support your position as a CEO if you have only 2 employees. Like, who's gonna answer the phone? Who's gonna sweep the floor? Who's gonna order the mouse for your computer? Okay, you have to have people so you can do your strategic function in the company, or your controlling function in the company. There are other things. There's the functional manager. There is L1B for specialized knowledge. Yes, there's more to this. There's more, but in general, 90% to 95% of L1 visas, and to the extent EB1C, about top managers and executives, okay, who are responsible for policy making, for strategy of development, to controlling the other managers and things like that. So that's how you can easily say, okay, my startup idea is going to work for L1 or not going to work. What else? What else we need for EB1C and L1? Of course, you are in the position of a top manager or executive in your company outside of the States, and it's called a foreign company. Okay, so foreign company means company outside of the States, because we look from the perspective of the States. You have to have been in this position for more than a year within the past 3 years. And this is important to understand, because sometimes you quit 6 months ago, but from that 6 months ago and back in the past, you work for 2 years for that company. You still qualify, okay? Also, we need to create or have affiliation between 2 companies, the foreign company and the US company. What's affiliation? Affiliation is a common control, all right? So same person or same group of people, or one company owns the other. Okay, or same people control both companies, 51% or more. There are different combinations. There could be 3 persons, there could be 5 persons, there could be persons, individuals, and companies owning the both businesses. So there is other hybrid combinations, but remember, common control is the most important. So the company in the US could be an existing, and that we need to have at least 8 people working in that company for both purposes, L1 and EB1C. But more often, we have the startup business, where we only forecast how this business is going to grow, and we need to show that we have finance to execute on our promises. So that's where Marco comes in and talks about business plan on L1 startup, and then possibly on EB1C.
Perfect, thank you. So let me use another example again. Okay, and in this case, I love reading about history, and when we study our history, we kind of can predict the future because history repeats itself. Why am I talking about this? The L1A was created in 1970. It was created for huge companies. It was not intended for small businesses. And I understand small business owners when they say, "Oh, but the government doesn't understand me." Well, it's not that they need to understand you. We need to understand them and the context that they use to review cases. So uh, let's talk. Let me talk quickly about the L for let's say startup, or what they call a new office petition. Basically, an initial petition for 12 months. What we need to show, depending on how Stanislav's office determines that the L visa beneficiary is going to be classified. When they wrote the law, they said, okay, you come under an L, you can come under an L1A, you can come as an executive and as a manager. But here's the thing, remember, the law was written by politicians. So they got creative and wrote down and defined in 4 points what an executive and a manager means to them. And again, it was born from the reality of big companies. So what we do in the business plan, which is different from the EB5 and different from the E2, is that, as Stanislav was saying, we need to show that by the end of the 12 months after the L1A is approved, the company will have grown to a size to support and justify either a manager or executive. The example that I love to use is, in most cases, we need to portray the beneficiary as an orchestra conductor, and the orchestra conductor needs musicians. The orchestra conductor should not be the one playing the music. Be the one hiring the musicians and conducting the orchestra that will play the music. And I know again that when you come here, you launch a business, you are the secretary, you are the CEO, you're the one cleaning the office, you're doing everything. That's how business works, but that doesn't work for the L1A. That's why Stanislav indicated you have less than X number of people, most likely it will not work. So that's why, in most cases, it will not work. So we make sure that in the business plan, we show that there will be sufficient people, as Stanislav was saying, that that's exactly what we ask. Who will be picking up the phone? Who will be writing checks, doing the payroll? Who will be selling? Who will be distributing? We need to address those questions because we don't want an officer to think that the beneficiary is going to be doing that work. Okay, that's for the L1A. Now, for the L1B, it's slightly different. It's specialized knowledge. I don't want to get into that technicality. I'll leave that to the Stanislav. But the approach is similar. We need to justify why and how the company will be able to support that person, and that person, as I like to say, if you bring the person to sell mangoes, all they do is sell mangoes. They cannot be doing anything else. Anyway, let's talk about the EB1C is what I like to call the L1A on steroids, meaning you need a really strong support, right, or team of subordinates who care of the day-to-day of the business, so that, as I like to say, the visa beneficiary is doing nothing, sitting in a desk, overseeing, creating policies and guidelines and checking, that the day-to-day is working properly. So again, it was created for the reality of bigger companies where you have an executive who's doing the work of an executive, right? And they're not doing the work of the day-to-day of the business. So depending on whether Stanislav has his team determine, this is a new office petition, this is an EB1C, we then make sure that we build the business plan to support that type of petition. And in my experience and our experience with my team, one of the key elements the US government will be looking at is a very detailed and credible and realistic description of the day-to-day of the work that the manager or executive will be doing, and the same with all the people that will be reporting to the executive or manager, again, to make sure that who is doing what, and then the executive is directing the orchestra and not playing the instruments. That's the main thing that we have learned over the years. That's where L1A business plans get approved or denied. So, as I said at the beginning, this is more than just putting numbers on paper. In reality, the numbers even tend to be not the main thing in L1A business plan. They're important, of course, but that's not where they mainly focus. They mainly focus on what are you coming to do here. You have to prove to me that if you're coming as an executive, you will be actually doing the work of an executive. Same if you're coming as a manager or as an specialized knowledge in the case of L1B. And again, we do this by working closely with Stanislav and his team to make sure that we're fully coordinated on how the L1A or L1B will be classified.
Yes, those are really good points. So you guys can see that L1 visa and EB1C visa have both the legal requirements and the business requirements. So that's the major separation from E2 and EB5, where we focus more on where the money is coming from, how much money we invest, and things like that, how we spend that money. Here we need to show that we are going to control and direct the entity, and we have enough staff and funding to do that. So that's the focus on both of these visas. And I want to repeat that we successfully transfer L1A visas to EB1C once you reach the 8 people threshold in your US company with 2 or 3 managers between you and subordinates, right? So you, 2-3 managers, and other people subordinates to those managers. So that's the classic way. Of course, there is more to that, but that's a good way of thinking how I get my green card. Okay, scale your business to this extent. Okay, and it's not very hard if you're a good businessman. All right. So let's look at the some questions. I saw some good questions again. So from YouTube, Anja, I have citizenship where E2 is allowed. Okay, but I also have residence in UAE. So is that okay? No problem. No, there's no problem. I'm not purchasing a passport. My passport is already okay for E2, but I wanted to cancel my residency, not citizenship. It has no connection. Anja, has no connection to E2. Mohammed asking what's a startup business, and a question goes back to E2 or L1. Well, Mohammed, and I see where your question is coming from. Startup business meaning new business. Okay, so when I say you can do startup business on E2 or L1 or even EB5, that means new business. Like you didn't purchase business, you didn't purchase the assets of the business, you started from ground zero, right? You rent the office, you do the business plan, you put the equipment, you buy the goods, or you create the services, you start selling it. Okay, so that's what startup for the purpose of immigration discussion. Josh says "Спасибо, товарищ," which means thank you, comrade. Josh, you're just killing it with your knowledge of Russian. Josh, something which brings new tech to the world or doesn't exist in task in a more unique and efficient way. So yes, Josh basically like describes what startup means in a sense, in a business sense. Okay, we're talking about more from the legal standpoint. What's a startup? New business, right? So and by the way, for the purpose of L1, we need to have an office leased for at least a year when we start a new business. Okay, so that's one of the requirements, and this is very important to understand. And unlike in E2, where this requirement was not waived, but the law was changed during the COVID, where we could explain why we don't need the office to still apply and get approval. In L1, this requirement has never been waived. So even if it's completely remote business, when everybody's working remotely, we still have to get the office. I know it's silly, but that's what the law says. Okay, another question. How Wang? I'd like to apply for E2 visa from Canada. How can I start? Thanks. How Wang? It's well, if you work with us, it's very easy. First of all, you will learn at the end of this webinar how to get a free evaluation of your case. So first, I want to see if you qualify. I don't charge any money for this. Once I see you qualify, I then invite you to the complex immigration planning, where I build this written strategy for your case, which you get after the interview. And then I will explain to you what needs to be done, what's good, what's not, how we're gonna work, and things like that. We have a perfect track record for E2 Canada. Not a single denial for at least 20 petitions for the past 2 years. Okay, so we're really good with Canada. Once we moved a family of 5 people, a husband and a wife, and 3 kids separately. So 4 E2 visas for the whole family. So we're bringing the whole families to the US. Dasvinder Bakshi, what is best option for Indian who already have B1, B2 visa, moreover as a small businessman? Well, probably, I don't know how small your business is, because small business for me, for Mark, and for you, different things. Okay, for me, small business anywhere up to 10 people, maybe 15. Maybe Marcus says up to 30 people is a small business, and someone can say up to 50 people, right? We don't know. So if you're talking like small, maybe a couple of people working, so definitely not good for L1. India is not good for E2. So definitely not EB5, no EB1C. So we basically left only with O1 visa. So we need to prove your talent, that you have some achievement and business in India, some competition, some awards, some press about you, some publications. Then we can see how we can do O1 visa through your own company. All right, so L1, just short, L1 is for 7 years. So within 7 years, usually we switch to EB1C, or maybe some other visa, maybe EB1A, maybe EB2 national interest waiver. The spouse for L1 visa petitioner will get L2, which allows the spouse to work anywhere in the US, which is really good. And the kids will go to school for free. Okay, so these are the main advantages. Okay, let's do this, guys. We have 13 minutes left. So let's finish with the current presentation, with the gifts and everything. We'll leave a couple of minutes for your questions. And if we get a couple of more minutes left, we will touch on O1 and EB1A briefly. I suspect that we will have to make another webinar with Marco specifically for talent visas and for EB2 national interest waiver, because it's the whole new world, right, Marco? You cannot cover it within 5 minutes. So we can touch a little bit on it. So let's first deal with the current topic. Most importantly, we touch on everything we wanted. So guys, free evaluation for your case from myself. I'm not sure. I think moderator will drop the links to the free evaluation forms. Okay, so open them, do them right away, guys. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till weekend. You'll forget. You forget everything we talked about. Do them right now. Okay, it's free. Yes, you will spend 15 minutes, but you will be able to get the initial qualification within 48 hours. Okay, so before the weekend, I will get back to you. Also, the guide on how to open a company in Miami, I do believe that we will drop you a link to this guide. So go to the link, download it, because within 24 hours we will close the access to that link. And again, that link is available only for those of you who registered for Livestorm and who is present. We also will send the email for those who registered and was present. So you get both the free evaluation and the guide in that separate email. But do it now, please. Don't wait. And also, Marco, how do people get a $100 discount from your business plan? What they need to do?
Okay, reach out to us. on info@visabusinessplans.com, and we'll be glad to extend that. And also, I want to throw in something that, if you allow me,
Sure. Yeah,
Stanislav,
go ahead.
I, I always like to give more than expected. So
Definitely.
we can also, as I said at the beginning, some clients say, "Oh, I want to invest. I want to get my L1A, my E2. What type of business should I invest in?" So I'm going to give away one service where we work very closely with the clients, and build their profile and really do a thorough analysis of the financial background, their financial goals. We're not here to sell them a business. We're here to guide them so that they can find a business that works for them, and in coordination with your office, works for the visa. Because that with a weak business, there is nothing you can do. I know that your team can do magic, but you cannot do the impossible.
Yeah.
So
it's a, it's a good way. It's a good way to put it. Definitely, we result oriented. That's very important for my company, Shamayev Business Law, and it's very important for Marco's company because reputation in this industry is number one, more important than money. So we definitely do magic sometimes, and we do work the way that you get the result. So. Guys, let's see if you have any more questions. So you have the last opportunity. We have 9 minutes left. Drop your questions right now if you have any. While you're thinking about the questions, also please look at the screen. You have the QR codes. Make a screenshot because these all the links to my company's platforms on social media, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. Okay, so please make sure you make a screenshot and then you connect because we post unique content on each of these platforms. They don't repeat. Okay, so if you follow us on Twitter, on TikTok is going to be different than on Twitter, and so on. Okay, very important to follow us. Also, follow the links on the screen to get the free evaluation of the case. Remember to mention that you've been on this webinar to Marco's company when you start working with them, because that way you will get a $100 discount. It's not a lot, but you can take your family out for dinner and celebrate your future approval. All right, so this is important. And Marco, let's maybe touch really briefly on EB2 national interest waiver. And I know that 7 minutes is not enough, even 30 minutes is not enough, but I will touch on the legal part very shortly, and you will touch very shortly on business part of those business plans or presentation. Because not always EB2 national interest waiver is a business plan. Sometimes it's a presentation of the endeavor. So, what EB2 NIW? That's the immigrant visa, which does not require an employer, and it's for highly qualified professionals. So, pre-qualification for this visa is 1 out of the 3. Either you have bachelor's degree and 5 years experience in your field of study, or you have master's degree, or if you have no education or less experience with your bachelor's, we have exceptional ability criteria, which are 6 or 7. Alternative criterion is 7. We have to prove 3 out of those 6 or 7 to qualify you for this program. And most importantly, we need to show and prove to the US government that all your past experiences, your projects, your employers, your publications, your conferences, whatever you've done in the past, puts you in the position to implement the proposed project in the US, where you either resolve some problem or you create something. And US government needs to love it. Okay, they need to love it and say, hey, this is a good project, and we see that you've done things in the past that puts you in a position to probably successfully do what you claim to be doing, and that's the basis for the green card. All right. So this is in short. I know it's very dense. I know. Don't kill me for that. But I try to break it down as much as I could from the legal standpoint. Now, Marco, what's your take on the business plan / presentation of the project?
Okay, let me again use an example because this is all about getting that petition approved. So in our view, when someone applies for the national interest waiver, it's basically someone saying that yeah, I'm going to develop this very specific project. They want a very specific things, right? Not just vague. For example, I am a mechanical engineer back home, and I want to continue being a mechanical engineer. How exactly? Consulting company? Are you going to be looking for a job? What exactly would you be doing? And especially the key question that we answer through either a business plan or a personal endeavor plan. And by the way, it is Stanislav's office that, depending on it determine which weapon they need, the business plan or which solution or the personal endeavor plan. So the main purpose of that is to explain what exactly will be done, what is the project that will be developed, and how it will be developed. The main question that it answers is, how will the United States benefit from what you intend to do here in the United States? So it is totally different from an L1A, from an EB5, from an EB2. This is about a view of how you're going to help the United States in a very specific way, in a very specific field with your project. That is the main driving concept between NIW plans.
Okay, it's very
That's
good.
it.
It's very good. I think this is a very nice and short and smooth explanation of EB2 national interest waiver. And let's repeat it because it's very dense information. No one can explain it within 5 minutes. It's impossible. So everything you've done in the past is gonna prove that you will be able to help this country to do something very specific. Usually, it's either a STEM category, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or business. Yes, there is a cultural component. Yes, there is sport. Yes, there is more to this, but business and STEM are the most popular, probably compiles 95% of all EB2 national interest waivers. So if you're engineer, if you're IT, if you architect, if you're a professional, EB2 national interest waiver program for you. And of course, we can help to brainstorm the idea of your future project. And very important to understand, guys, the last but not least, it is a proposed endeavor, not the existing endeavor, not the endeavor you're already doing in the US. If that's the case, great, we'll take it. But in 90% of the cases, this is something that we promise we will do. Okay? Because I know sometimes, oh my God, Stanislav, Marco, I don't have any project. You don't have to. Okay? You don't have to. You have to propose what project you're going to be involved. I think this is really good. Marco, hour and a half. To be honest, I didn't notice the time. And when it happens, that means it's a good company, it's a good presentation, good questions. So I think we did great.
Indeed.
Yes, guys, everybody, thank you very much who watched us online, who gonna watch us a little bit later because I know some people are busy, don't have time. Marco, thank you for your expertise. This was very good. I really enjoyed the conversation with you. I enjoyed your explanations, your examples. I think this is really good. We're gonna keep close work between our companies and our teams to reach the success and result for our clients, which is the most important for us. On this note, guys, everybody, thank you who watched us online. Marco, your last words.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure speaking about all these different subjects today. And we look forward to, educating clients first and foremost, and then helping them get their visa approved, working as a team with your firm. That's the only thing that counts. Again, visa approval. Okay.
Good. Visa approval is what we want. Marco, thank you very much,
Exactly.
everyone.
Thank you.
We will see each other very soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Have a nice rest of the day. Thank you for attending this webinar today.
It was my
All of
pleasure.
you. Thank you for the great